Hello, welcome to Kusum English. This is Kusumanna. Today we are going to learn verb. You know, verb is the main part in a sentence. So, how a verb can be used in state and action, and what are the state verbs, and what are the things to be observed while using state verb in spoken as well as the written language. So, the verbs such as like, love, think, look, remember, know, believe, hate, see, want, forget, feel, these are all called stative verbs. And the action words run, eat, write, drink, many other very number of action verbs are there, and those involve in the physical movement, and they are expressed in physical movement and actions in progress. So the actions are in progress because they happen in a multiple course of time, so that they can be expressed in continuous tense. So action verbs can be expressed in continuous tense, whereas the state verbs that cannot be expressed in continuous tense. Let us see action verbs, that is dynamic. Dynamic verbs are action words involve some physical movement or deliberate actions. So physical movement or deliberate action, those words are expressed with action verbs. So whether they are transitive or intransitive, whether they are regular or irregular, they can be expressed in continuous tense because there is a movement, action is existed, and there is a physical involvement in the action words, so that they can be expressed in present continuous or past continuous or future continuous, any other continuous tenses. We can use them in all tenses, like he is eating, and he was eating, and he has been eating, or he had been eating. So dynamic verbs can be expressed either in present continuous tense or past continuous tense, and present perfect continuous tense, past perfect continuous tense, and future continuous tense or future perfect continuous tense. Any continuous tense it can be expressed because there is an involvement of the action or the physical movement. That's why they can be expressed in any continuous tense. Stative verbs are different from the dynamic verbs because stative verbs express only the condition of a state of a thing, of a person or an animal or noun. So they can never be used in continuous tenses. And for example, let us see I know. Know is the stative verb, and you can express in present or in simple tenses only, but not expressed in I am knowing. I am knowing is wrong. You says that you cannot speak so. Whereas I knew, it is the expression past of know, and you cannot express the same in past continuous tense because there is no continuous tense for the state verbs. And I have known is the present perfect tense, and that cannot be expressed in present perfect continuous tense. So there is no continuous tense for stative verbs. And here you observe that I had known indicates past perfect, and it cannot be expressed in past perfect continuous tense. So types of stative verbs. There are several different types of stative verbs, that is mental and emotional states, like believe, love, hate, think, remember, forget. These are the commonly used verbs, and let us see how they are used and how they are not used. What are the right uses of these stative verbs in English language, and what are the misuse and wrong use of these verbs. Now we are thinking you are right. Is this sentence right? No, this is wrong because it cannot be expressed, because think is the mental perception, and so that it cannot be expressed in present continuous tense. Instead you can prefer simple present, that is think. So think is the right expression, whereas we are thinking is wrong expression. So I was knowing him is wrong, and instead you can use, instead of past progressive tense, you can use simple past. So she is hating me is the wrong sentence, because hate is physical, emotional state, and it is used in to talk about emotional condition of a person, and it cannot be expressed she is hating me. Instead, you can express that she hates me. That is right sentence. And another kind of stative verbs are look, see, smell, taste, touch, feel. These represent some sensory perceptions. So these sensory perceptions cannot be expressed in present continuous or past continuous or any continuous tense. You look at this example, I am smelling petrol. So when I say I am smelling petrol, this is some sensory perception, and so that it cannot be expressed. There is no any involvement of physical activity, and so that it cannot be expressed in present progressive or past continuous or any continuous tense. Instead, you would better in simple present, you would better to express in simple present, that is I smell petrol is the right expression. And this cake is tasting bitter. Do you see that sentence is right? No, this sentence is wrong. When we usually speak this sentence, we should not talk so that this cake is tasting bitter. Instead of that, you can prefer that this cake tastes bitter. Instead of present progressive tense, we use simple present tense, and that is the right expression. And another kind of stative verbs are belong, own, that is verbs of possession. Belong, own, owe, possess. These are the main commonly used use of verbs. And let us see the example here. And this book is comprising of interesting pages. So comprise is a word that can be expressed in possession, and so that it cannot be expressed in continuous tense. It has no continuous tense, so this is a wrong expression. And the right expression for this is this book comprises of interesting pages. So this is the right expression. And are you owning a house? This is when you ask that question, it is wrong to say. We should not talk so, because own is the possession, and it has no any involvement of any action or the movement, and it has no any physical involvement in that word own, so that it cannot be expressed in continuous tense. Instead, you can use that do you own a house, simple present, that is an interrogative. So another example, this article is containing of silver, containing mixture of silver and iron. See this example, contain is the word related to possession, and it has no any dynamic action, and so that it cannot be expressed that in present continuous tense. So better talk like this. This article contains mixture of iron and silver. And verb be and have, these are all also sometimes they are used as dynamic verbs, and sometimes they are used as state verbs. And let us see how they are used in state verb. And she is being foolish. When you observe this sentence, she is being foolish. Be present participle is being, and it cannot be expressed in continuous tenses because it is a state verb, and there is no any involvement of physical perception or physical any action or physical progress or physical movement, and so that it cannot be expressed. So instead of that, you can use in simple present, that is she is foolish. So look at this sentence. Are you having a spare pen? Do you feel that sentence is right? No, this sentence is wrong, because have is the word that is expressed in as a main verb, and it cannot be expressed in continuous as a dynamic verb, and it can be expressed in state verb, and so that it cannot be written in present continuous tense. Do you have a spare pen? Any continuous tense, no other continuous tense is possible with the state verbs. And was she being a good doctor? No, this sentence is not comfortable, and the right sentence for this expression is, was she a good doctor? Like this. Friends, we understand that state verbs cannot be written in progressive sentences, whereas progressive form, it doesn't mean the progressive form is not there. So progressive form is existed English ing form, but it can be used in different functions, such as even verbs which are never used in progressive sentences or tenses have ing forms which can be used in other kinds of structures, that is either in adjectives function or gerund function, that is noun functions can also be used. And when you observe this sentence, you can understand that she is knowing him. The verbal function, know is the verbal function, and so that this sentence is wrong to say, because know is the mental perception and it has no any involvement of action, and there is no any progress of action. It is not happened in a multiple course of time, so that it can be expressed in it cannot be expressed in progressive sentence, whereas knowing is there, and knowing is used here as a noun gerund. So know present participle knowing is not used as a verbal function when it represents state, whereas knowing is used when it represents when it does the function of adjective or noun. So here knowing is the gerund function and it can be used rightly. So I am believing you. Believe is the verb, and so that it is the mental perception, so it cannot be expressed. It is the state verb, and so that it cannot be written in present continuous. Whereas seeing is believing, it is seeing is noun gerund and believing is gerund, so that they can be rightly expressed, and the be subject of this be form seeing gerund is used, and as an object of this be form gerund believing is used, so that they can be expressed like this. By changing its function, you can use the ing forms or progressive forms, but as a stative verbs you cannot use progressive form, these state verbs. So some exceptions are there. English has a lot of exceptions, and state verbs are not normally used in continuous tenses. However, we can use them in continuous tenses by changing the basic meaning. That is, by changing its meaning in derivatory meaning, you can use the continuous tenses. When you observe this sentence, Sekhar is seeing a lot of felicity these days. Seeing is not the sense perception, and seeing is used as an experience, so that it can be expressed. So my sister is having examination. Have is not possession here, and it is not a state verb. It is the action word, and it is dynamic character, and so that it can be rightly expressed. Have meaning here right. It is not a possession, so that it can be expressed by changing its basic meaning. They can be expressed in the sentences. So I am saying what you mean. This sentence is wrong because seeing is used as the state expression, stative verb, whereas I see what you mean is the right expression, and I am seeing my friend tonight, this is right expression, because as you see the difference between first sentence and the last sentence. First sentence expresses that it is the state verb and it cannot be expressed in present continuous, whereas I am seeing my friend tonight is the meeting. Seeing is the meaning is meeting, so meeting is action word and it is used in dynamic character, and there is an involvement of physical involvement, and so that it can be expressed in present progressive tense. So she is liking it, and present continuous tense it is not possible because like is the mental perception, and it is a state verb, and it is used in a state position. And how are you liking your new job? This sentence is right because like is used as the experience, how you enjoy and how you do your job in your office. This is the meaning like here, and it is the action in a progress or in a physical involvement is there in this liking, so that it can be expressed that. So I am smelling petrol is the sensory expression, so that it does not exist any continuous tense, whereas the police dog is smelling the handkerchief of the culprit, and there is an involvement of the physical, and it is a multiple course of time it happens, and it is not sensory related, and it is the involvement of this action and it continues the action, so that there is a continuous tense in this. So let us see this example. This cake is tasting bitter. Tasting is used as sensory perception, whereas in the second sentence she was tasting the pizza to see if it was good enough. Here tasting is the action of taste, so that there is progress in the action and physical involvement is there. In the first sentence there is no any physical involvement, so that the first sentence is wrong. So I am saying television. See is the sensory perception and it has no any physical action, and it is involuntary action that cannot be expressed in continuous action. So I am seeing off my daughter at the airport tomorrow. This action exists some physical movement, and seeing off means that is sending and waving goodbye, and so there is a physical involvement and dynamic, so that it can be expressed in present progressive tense. So friends, let us see this example. I am hearing some noise. Hearing is the sensory perception and cannot be expressed, and it is a state verb. And in the second sentence, the court is hearing evidence this afternoon. Hearing means this is it involves some multiple action, that is a physical involvement, and there is a course of action takes place, and so that it can be expressed in present continuous tense. Before going to end this topic, let us do one exercise on this, and you please answer to these questions and type your answers in the text box below. And let us see the first one. Are you seeing any wrong in it? And she is not understanding me. Is that right or wrong? Just you pass an answer in the box. I am not knowing how to solve this problem. Was she being a teacher? Raghu had been having an old car. So friends, today we learned about the difference between state verbs and the dynamic verbs, and how the dynamic verbs are used in continuous tenses, and how the state verbs do not involve in the action or any physical movement, and that cannot be expressed in continuous tense. Any continuous tense. It cannot be used in present continuous or past continuous or future continuous. Instead of that, simple tenses. So this is all about that. Thank you very much for watching.